We began the last weekend of 2024 with a weather impact alert for the Oregon Cascades. Thanks for joining us here at 5. I'm John Adams alongside meteorologist Joe Ranieri. And Joe, drivers are going to be facing heavy snow, wind, even some ice over the next 36 hours.
Yeah, and that's going to start falling here in the next couple of hours. As we look at the weather impact alert, it's now again throughout the Oregon Cascades tonight through early Monday morning. We're going to be seeing as that heavy snow that John just mentioned and some pockets of freezing rain, which will make for some very slick roads. A winter storm warning is in effect tonight until early Monday morning at 3,500 feet and higher, I should say. Heavy snow and ice, like I said, but again, the snowfall is going to be pretty intense, 3 to 7 inches overnight and nearly a foot possible by the end of tomorrow. So here's a look at the mountain passes right now. Pretty clear going at that 4,000 foot level. This is out at Government Camp along Highway 26. Now we go up a little bit in elevation. This is at Highway 20 and Santiam Pass, and going up even higher, you can kind of see the heavy snow that's fallen along Highway 58 right now. That's at just over 5,000 feet. Yeah, and that snowfall will get really intense late tonight and into tomorrow. Lots of watches and warnings to get to real quick. The big one is that purple color winter storm warning in effect throughout parts of the Washington Cascades, all the way down into the Oregon Cascades, stretching down into Mount Bachelor. Wind advisory is that orange color, and the flood watch over near Roseburg. Heavy rain will be moving through at times. Again, that bright green color you see is a high surf advisory along the Oregon coast. So if you're going to be traveling over the mountain passes, it will be very treacherous here the next couple of days. Meanwhile, along the Oregon coast, we are going to be looking at some heavy rain moving through really in the early morning hours. And again, if you sleep in by the end of tomorrow morning, it's all gone, because we'll transition pretty quick from heavy rain to scattered showers. And here's what we've picked up so far today. Just some trace amounts throughout the metro area, but heading into the overnight hours into the end of tomorrow, John, it could be anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch of rain. I'll talk more about that in just a few minutes.
All right, Joe, thank you. We'll see you later in the show. A large power line fell to the ground in a neighborhood in Vancouver Friday night, resulting in several spot fires, including an RV fire and multiple injuries. Our Celine Stevens joins us live now in Vancouver, where that power line fell. Celine, how are the victims doing?
John, fortunately, everybody is alive, but last night, 3 of those firefighters received electrical shocks after responding to this call, and one other victim was also taken to the hospital in critical condition.
One of the neighbors I talked to said he could see flames coming off the roof from his second-story window.
Friday night, around 9, the Vancouver Fire Department responded to a report on Ash Street of a large downed power line. That power line causing fires in the neighborhood.
There were several spot fires in front of the house where the line had touched the ground and energized the ground around it. There were a couple of houses that were involved, a couple of lots, because the line was draping across several different types of things like trees and in the RV.
One neighbor says he feels for the family that owns one of the homes.
They bought the house a few years ago. They put a bunch of money into it. They renovated it. And, this it's kind of a freak thing for them. It seems to have just scorched the earth right here with what we believe is a power line.
Vancouver Fire Department says there was also a victim on scene who was unable to move and calling for help. But as firefighters responded,
we were trying to extricate him from where he was at. A couple of firefighters noticed that they were getting shocked.
That victim was taken to the hospital in critical condition. 3 firefighters were also taken to the hospital, with 2 returning to duty before the end of their shift and the 3rd being kept overnight for observation.
Obviously it's terrible.
The fire department says they don't know what caused the line to drop, and there was no significant weather in the area at the time of the event. A neighbor expressed his concern over what could have caused the accident.
If the power lines are more likely to fail due to a lack of maintenance or getting old, I would like to see the neighborhood get checked under the presumption that most power lines in the area are probably of similar age.
So the Clark Public Utilities was also on site, according to the fire department, and they were the ones responsible for shutting down the power to the entire neighborhood while firefighters tackled the fire. Now, if you look behind me, you're going to see Northwest Natural Gas Services has also arrived on scene just over the last couple of hours, but the only thing they could confirm with me on site is that they arrived after the fire department called them sometime this afternoon. John?
All right, our Celine Stevens tonight. Celine, thank you. In Hillsboro, a family was displaced after their house caught fire. Firefighters were called just after 6 this morning to Southeast 30th Avenue in Cypress, where multiple callers reported seeing heavy flames and smoke coming from the house. By the time they got there, the family had evacuated, but all their pets were still inside. They rescued a total of 8 animals with no injuries reported. The cause of the fire is undetermined and the investigation is ongoing. Well, new tonight, 2 Portland men have been found dead after they went missing in eastern Skamania County, Washington. The family of the men reached out early Christmas after they never returned home as planned on Christmas Eve. The family said the 2 were searching for Sasquatch. After a 3-day search involving more than 60 volunteer search and rescue members, their bodies were found in a heavily wooded area of the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. Their cause of death is believed to be exposure. Woodburn police are asking for help identifying the driver involved in a deadly hit and run. Thursday night, officers say 44-year-old Nicholas Hernandez Mendoza was crossing Pacific Highway just north of Williams Avenue in a crosswalk when he was hit by a light-colored SUV. The driver left the scene. The victim died at the hospital. And just southeast of Portland, Clackamas County Sheriff's deputies arrested a man Friday who attacked an elderly man in a grocery store parking lot. It happened around 2 yesterday afternoon outside the Fred Meyer on Southeast 82nd in an unincorporated part of the county. Deputies arrived to give aid to the 86-year-old man who said the suspect attacked him, tried to take his car, and then left on foot. Deputies found the suspect, 31-year-old Jesus Asensio Molina, a few blocks away at an apartment complex. Asensio Molina is being held without bail on attempted murder charges, as well as robbery and assault. The victim was taken to the hospital for treatment. The sheriff's office is asking anyone with more information to call them. Well, back in Portland, there might be a sign of progress involving gun violence. In November, we saw the fewest monthly shootings in 3 years. Portland Police points to groups focusing on gun violence prevention work and their increased presence in areas prone to shootings, but the work is far from over.
42 shootings in November, the lowest monthly total in 3 years, is incredibly encouraging, but by no means are we waving the victory flag.
That shooting that can affect so many lives, 42 people have been affected, not only them, their families, their friends, their colleagues.
I've seen some people get shot. I've seen some people not make it.
Portland is on track for fewer shootings overall this year compared to last year. Now, this follows a national trend where deadly shootings are declining dramatically across the nation. Portland police also say weather plays a role. Often when it's cold and rainy, there are less shootings. Well, it may be winter, but we're still dealing with the aftermath of this year's record wildfire season. The people who work to keep our community safe are finally getting paid after the state approved new funding. With nearly 2 million acres burned across the state, lawmakers say wildfire season has never been as costly as it was this year. The Oregon Department of Forestry told us those bills were more than the department had allocated. That prompted the governor to call for a special session for a $218 million bailout to ODF and the state fire marshal's office. Well, next year, ODF officials and other state agencies plan to push change on how the efforts are funded, given fighting wildfires has grown more costly and complex. Well, the new year will bring an increase to Seattle's minimum wage. It will be one of the highest in the country at just over $20 an hour. But many restaurant workers could see the biggest pay bump due to a change in how tips can be counted. That sparked a big debate about the practice. Here's Bridget Chavez.
This wage hike means all employees will earn at least $20.76 per hour. And while some say they'll continue to tip regardless of that increase, it has others questioning whether or not they will continue to do so. To tip?
Always tip.
Or not to tip?
I'm probably half for 2/3 of the time.
That's the question sparking debate online.
I'm always going to continue tipping.
It comes just days before the city of Seattle is set to implement one of the highest minimum wages in the country. Some restaurants say the increase could hurt business.
A lot of restaurants are going to have razor thin 1% to 3% margins when it comes to profit. So a lot of places are probably just going to build that increase in price into the menu items.
Right now, restaurants can pay a $17.25 hourly wage as long as employees earn at least $2.72 in tips per hour or medical benefits. Starting January 1st, across the board, everyone will make at least $20.76 per hour.
And you?
Brandon Nyland has worked in the service industry for about 8 years. He says the increase is a welcome one.
Going from 17 to 20, you're going to see those raises in cost of living adjustments in a 9-to-5 corporate world as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Carol Brown and Ann Phillips say regardless of the increase, they'll keep on tipping.
Tip means to ensure prompt service, right? That's where that old saying came from.
But the two differ when it comes to who or what is actually taking their orders.
I certainly go, do I want to right now when there wasn't any kind of necessarily exchange between me and the people working.
Regardless of whether a machine took my order, somebody's back there preparing it.
Other cities in our area will also see increases. Bellingham will go up to more than $17 per hour and Tukwila more than $21 per hour. Reporting in Seattle, Bridget Chavez, King 5 News.